Welcome everybody to another edition of Hot Program. I'm your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast, and as always, good people, I am in airplane mode. And now, a man who has serious trouble believing the Old Testament's claims about God because they had high priest. A man who knows that not everything one experiences while high is real. A man who needs no introduction. It's actually
Yeah, your
funny.
pocket locker.
It's funny
Go ahead.
that religious people are usually so anti-drugs, especially modern Christians. But as far as I understand, when they do the excavations on like ancient Jewish sites, they often find burned cannabis in
Yep.
the worship areas, for lack of a better way to put it. And there are those who even believe that the sacred anointing oil, the one that you would have needed to be considered the Messiah or the anointed one, was in fact the cannabis oil. And the modern church uses like olive oil, but it's like, I don't know if olive oil would have had many, let's call them spiritual effects. It makes more sense that they were
Yeah, but you
probably
can get it by
burning.
the gallon. It's cheap.
I don't actually
Relatively.
back then. I don't think you could, right? Like, I mean, that's the thing. That's the sort
No,
of
I
the
got
modern
you probably could back then.
olive oil.
Olive oil.
I don't know,
Plenty of
man.
olive trees
Olive
in
oil is
that part of the
expensive.
world. So it's got
Olive
a
oil is
hard
expensive.
center. It's got a hard seed in the middle, so it
Well,
probably
I
grows
shouldn't. I
well in the
shouldn't say
desert.
not olive oil. I mean, it could have been some, but whatever it was, just the fact that
It
it being cannabis oil would have still meant it had to be another oil, right? It's not.
I have
Yeah, yeah,
I have zero doubt that many of those people were dealing with things that today would be considered narcotics, especially prophetesses and prophets and things like that that had to see beyond our time,
yeah.
in a realm, if you will. I don't doubt
I
that.
also
I
think. I
think it's
also think
probably just a
modern
normal thing and
Christianity
not
is.
stigmatized at all.
I think modern Christianity is also boring and sanitized, and like a lot of the things make more sense if there were some sort of psychotropic things involved. Like, really, what is the frankincense and the myrrh? Like a lot of stuff doesn't really make any sense to me. But if you told me like it comes from an ancient tradition where there was something, in there, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
Frankincense isn't it from like the gum of a tree? And
yeah.
yeah, so
I think
it's
some of
probably something that at least it was had a perfume kind
yes,
of
the I was gonna say
aspect
that the
to it. Yeah,
fragrance. Yeah, that might have been
exactly.
for some people enough to be suggestive of like a alternate state or whatever.
Right.
All right, we got
And
a lot. Go ahead.
one more thing.
Yeah, yeah.
The fact that alternate states of mind were considered okay and maybe people even admired someone for it at that time was sort of an excuse to go ahead and do it. Right? Go ahead and have that experience if it
Yeah.
was unstigmatized.
Hill was said, I've been saying the scripture about the burning bush was about weed. People, atheists included, try to act like the imagery is that specific couldn't be about weed or like come on. Yeah, we don't know. And
We don't.
honestly,
It's
we'll never probably know because the church is so controlling of narratives. And even when I did the research that was showing me where cannabis was probably used in the anointing oil, like that was very like contested because there's just so many sanitized interpretations, and so it'd probably be very hard for the church to uh even if that was the truth, to like go with that over some other story that they could easily just latch onto.
well,
Yeah.
which is more likely? These people are talking to God or that they are high.
Thank
Which
you. I
is
mean, really,
more
come on.
likely?
That's That really
Why
needs to be the
complicate
beginning and end of the
things? Why
conversation. Yeah,
complicate things?
exactly. No, that I fucks with that. I agree with that so much.
Hmm.
All right, so today's episode is kind of very uncomfortable. I told you so. Also, let's just go ahead and issue a trigger warning. I feel
Yeah.
bad there's not a ton of people here. There may be more people that show up. I'll try to reiterate the trigger warning. But trigger warning, we're going to be talking about issues of sexual assault and violence, particularly violence against young girls, and the stuff that's been going on in the news. Now, I do think it's news. I do think it's important to discuss. But I just want everybody to understand it's triggering, and if you're not here for that, we understand. All right, so the part of it that's like I told you so was I've been talking on this channel about how we have to put together certain things that people on the right are doing politically and not view them in isolation, but think about how they work in coordination with each other. In particularly, I've been talking about things like, okay, you have them trying to remove DEI programming and, critical understanding of history. With that, with getting rid of DEI programming comes getting rid of basically what they consider like woke feminist stuff, right? So that also allows them to try to remove conversations about sex and gender. And what else can you remove conversations about if you can remove conversations about sex and gender? Consent. You don't have to talk about consent if we're not talking about sex. And then you have their efforts to do things like lower the age at which someone can be tried as an adult for committing a crime. A lot of that is racist, but it doesn't just function in terms of harming black people. We can use that motivation to scare people. Aren't you worried about that black teenager that's going to stick up the fucking corner store? Don't you think that black teenager knew when they stuck up a corner store with a 9mm pistol that they were potentially putting people in a lethal situation? Don't you think that black 14-year-old should then be tried as an adult? Now, you could fearmonger a lot of white folk to sign in on to that, but again, when they lower that age at which someone can be tried as an adult, they lower that age for everyone. Then there are also the same people who are fighting for child marriage laws. They want to be able to marry children. And every time these laws come up and look it over, there's current modern efforts in many states for this shit to happen. Every time people are like, are you saying you want to marry children? They're like, yes, we're saying we want to marry children. We're like, no, we think that's pretty fucked up. You can't marry children. They're like, you're violating my religious freedom. Are you telling me your religion says you should be able to marry children? Yes, I'm telling you my religion says I should be able to marry children. Okay? Those same people. All right? At the same time, they are trying to lower the age of consent. For those that don't know, the age of consent in a lot of states is not actually 18. It's under 18. It's 16 in many states. And once you reach that age of consent, it is perfectly legal for you to have sex with anybody of any age. And so there are states where the legal age of consent is already 16, and they're trying to lower it even more. We're like, it's already 16. 16-year-olds are already motherfucking teenagers. Would you want us to lower it anymore? Yes, I would like you to lower it any. Okay. At the same time, like I talked about, they're moving K-12 education into the realm of the Department of Labor.
Labor.
Yes. And so now put those things together. And one of the things I said was going to happen as a result of that, and a lot of other people could probably see it coming too. It's not that I'm a grand wizard or what do they call it? A prophet
You're
or something
definitely
like
not
that.
a grand wizard.
I'm definitely not a grand wizard. Yeah. I should have thought about that one first. Yeah,
Yeah,
something about me makes me unqualified to be a grand wizard.
I
But
can't say what it is. I can't put
yeah,
my finger on it.
but yeah, I'm not a fortune teller.
Yeah.
What it is it's just very easy to see what's coming. And I also watch MAGA, and I saw when the Epstein stuff first took surface, they started saying stuff like, "Hey, don't act like." When we were, they throw in their putting their business in the streets, but they're kind of throwing the stank and the dirt on everyone. They're like, don't think that when we were 14 and 15-year-olds, we weren't sleeping with 35 and 40-year-old men. And I'm like, speak for yourself. I don't think all women want to be included in that. But anyway, this was predictable. And so what has happened is, as many of us predicted, when the Epstein stuff hit the fan, and if it really stuck to Donald Trump, and it really became the case that he was involved with this dark Epstein stuff, one, I told you it was now going to mean that all of the stuff he did with women is now off the table. Right? It's a very subtle, pernicious thing that nobody wants to talk about with the Epstein files. But a huge stain on Donald Trump's character and his legacy and his immoral composition is how many times he was credibly accused of sexual assault by grown-ass women, including being held liable in court with the whole Eugene Carroll
Yeah.
situation. But as soon as the Epstein thing started, all of a sudden, it was like, well, I don't know if Epstein was really a pedophile because he wasn't really into 8-year-olds. He was more into like the 15-year-old, barely legal type. That's still not legal.
Oh, the
But
Megan Kelly's kind of talking about
right,
that
but
along with
in
Ghislaine
that,
Maxwell.
yes, but in that is a subtle shift. And what the unspoken part of that is, whatever he then is accused of doing with older women is okay. All that grab him by the pussy stuff, all that credible, right? Because they're of age. And so now
You know,
nobody's going to talk about that. There's not going to be any moral outrage over that stuff anymore because we're shifting over here to talk about what happened with these minors.
I need to jump in here.
Go
I
ahead.
need to jump in here. I was having a discussion with a impenetrable Trump supporter, and I brought up like the guy's a sexual predator. Like he says so. We have him saying so. And he's accused of that on the Howard Stern show, and he just shakes his head. Yes, that's separate from him. Basically, he's saying he's gonna grab women when he wants to. He can kiss them when he wants to. He can just approach them in inappropriate ways, and in his mind, it's okay. Okay. I brought up the video of the little girl going up the escalator and Trump pointing her out and saying, I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. His defense of Donald Trump was, well, at least he's going to wait until she's an adult. And I'm thinking, the proper response to hearing that is to be ashamed of him. It's not something else. It's to be ashamed of him. It's to distance yourself from him philosophically. If he's gotten that wrong, he's gotten the worst possible thing wrong he can get wrong. But millions of them, millions of his supporters will be right like that person I was talking to. They don't want to change their mind. They make the justifications in their head and they keep on going.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just think we need to, in a sane world, we would say we can do two things at once. We can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yeah.
And yes, he's now tied to this Epstein stuff, but we are not going to let go of our understanding of his being a sexual predator to adult women as well. But I do see that the shift as a result of this Epstein thing is that we're no longer talking about his adult victims. But another thing that was also with that was the prediction of what would happen, was that people were going to start to say that these girls, these children, were not victims. Again, combine it with everything we were talking about. You lower the age at which, one of the things I forgot to mention was you lower the legal age at which people can go to work. When you lower the legal age, and again, A lot of states, it was already pretty low. I'm from Pennsylvania. A lot of people don't start working till they're 16 years old. I started working at 15 years old. Why? Because in the state of Pennsylvania, when I was a teenager, which is literally like the year 2000, literally going back 25 years. When I was a teenager, you could start legally working in the state of Pennsylvania at 16. Just no nothing. Just regular paperwork. Just walk into a place. If they're willing to hire 16-year-olds, you're good to go. But you can actually start working at 15. You just have to like have your parents' permission and like get a special fucking permit that says you can work at 15. And my mother was like, "You're gonna start working as literally as soon as it's legally permissible, so that you learn the value of $1 and a hard day's work and all that great shit children should be doing." But that's what happened. So again, people can already go to work at 15, 16 in most states, and they want to lower it even more. So think about that. Once I lower that, now you're old enough to be a worker. I lower the age at which you can be tried as a criminal. Once again, you're legally treated like an adult when you're a child still. Then add that with lowering the age of consent. That says you're plenty old enough to have sex. Add that with lowering the age at which I can marry somebody. What the fuck? These not only are these perfectly moral unions between a man and a child, they can go ahead and be endorsed by God and get married and start a legal family. So, and again, taking the K-12 education and putting it in the Department of Labor. So lo and behold, surprise, surprise, what's the new story? These girls were not victims. Again, trigger warnings, y'all. Trigger warnings all over this episode. They were not victims. They were prostitutes. And since they were prostitutes, there should be no consequences for the men who raped them, because they got paid. So that's what we're jumping into right here. And again, trigger warning for everybody that's not up for this. Although I do think this person is a really good content creator, Sheila Zollner. Let me just pull her page up here off to the side, and I will drop her link in the chat because I meant to put it in the description and I did not. I do think she's a good content creator. Don't know her personally. No affiliation, just somebody I watch. So let me know. All right, here we go.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Hang on,
13,
volume.
14, 15, 17-year-old. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old girls that you guys were referring to, they knew exactly what they were doing. Chances are they weren't 13. But if they were, they weren't. But if they were, they knew what they were doing. Just like you did. Everything that you did when you were 15 years old, underneath the bleachers at somebody else's house, skipping school, in a car, all of those items that you were doing, they're doing the same thing. Don't try to make them...
Also, like, I'm just gonna say, at 14 or 15 years old, no, I actually, no, but not only that, I didn't know everything I was doing and how wrong it was. I absolutely did not have the same fully formed brain. First of all, I don't know if my brain right now is fully formed, and I'm still learning and growing. I'm learning shit like
28.
I'm learning shit in my fucking 30s that I should have learned a long time ago. But no, when I was 15, I literally thought it was okay to say everything was gay. Just if we didn't like something, we just said it was gay. I'm really not proud that I am part of the millennial generation that did that, but we sure as fuck did, and it was stupid. We literally we said boss, everything. We were like, boss, do what I want. We were the worst people. I would literally like be hanging out in the neighborhood, and I thought it was funny to like be riding my bike around the neighborhood or something, and like not have a garbage can, and like throw something, just throw it onto the road, and literally yell out, "Stop littering!" I'd be like, "Stop littering!" Get it? I said stop littering, but I'm littering. Did you guys get it? You get it? I said stop littering, but I'm actually littering. That's how my brain worked when I was 15.
You would have voted for Donald Trump.
I might have voted for Donald Trump when I was 15. No, okay, so I'm just saying no to this whole 15-year-olds. They're basically adults. They pretty much know exactly. No, they don't. That's not how that works.
Victims now, unless somebody pulled up in a white van with no windows and threw them in the van with a fucking pillowcase over their head. they weren't victims, okay? They went knowing what they were doing. They wanted money. Did they get it? Well, then transaction complete.
You stupid bitch. What'd you do?
Facts.
Get your account banned for being a stupid fucking bitch? Before we get into the common sense of it all, I want to remind everyone that what this absolute fucking amoeba is doing, what she's bending herself into a pretzel of, is the right of millionaires and billionaires to traffic children. She is bending over backward, advocating.
All right. This sucks. This sucks all the left nut. But we are here together, so we do need to put that mode and cheers, because we probably need a drink to get through this.
Right of millionaires and billionaires to keep children in stables for their sexual delight, to impregnate them when they're 13 years old, and to kill the baby and throw it overboard just to make sure that there's no future blackmail. That's what this bitch is talking about. She's not that dumb. I refuse to believe that she's that dumb. She has to be playing dumb. Say you're playing dumb right fucking now. Because if you're not playing dumb, I'm just fucking pissed off that you exist. You know there's a difference, right? You know there's a difference between what you were doing at the age of 13, 14, 15, 16, or 17 behind the fucking bleachers with another 13, 14, 15, 16, or 17-year-old. You understand that, right? Perhaps you were huffing paint behind the bleacher and selling your mouth to the kid that sits next.
Yes, I literally remember having a fucking friend named Wayne. I don't think I was 15. I actually think I was in fucking middle school still. But he was like 15. And that motherfucker literally convinced me to huff gas because he was trying to get high. Yes, I tried that. Gang, y'all look at me like just because I got a PhD and I'm originally from Jersey and I live like that, I got some kind of East Coast. I keep telling y'all, I was raised in the goddamn Poconos. I'm a kid from Pennsylvania. I grew up in the mountains where there wasn't jack shit to do but drive around in hoopties and try to get spaced the fuck out. And so, yes, I was the only black kid in all white schools. And so white boys had me trying all that crazy weirdo white boy shit. And so, yes, I have tried huffing gas. It is not a good idea. As I recall it, I went outside. I don't know what gave me the presence of mind to think, yeah, I should probably do this outside. I took like 2 huffs of a gas can, gang. I walked back inside and the house was spinning. I just remember that bitch was spinning. It was not a good experience. Highly would not recommend it. But again, I'm revealing these things just to take us back down memory lane so we can remember what it was actually like to be children, so that we can remind ourselves that we are talking about children, so that when people make these dumbass arguments, we can all be present in our minds. Oh, like, no, I remember exactly what it was like to be a motherfucking child, and I absolutely did not have the cognitive abilities to be making these motherfucking decisions.
To you in shop class for $5. I don't fucking know. But apparently you missed 7th grade civics class, okay? I'm gonna enlighten you, you stupid fucking bitch. We have laws. Children can't consent. The adults in the room are held responsible for the things that the children do. We don't let children drink alcohol. We don't let them purchase it. We don't let children smoke cigarettes. We don't let them purchase it. We don't let children smoke weed. We don't let them purchase legal weed either. We don't let children skip school. Parents are held responsible for truancy. The guy who sold those things to the children would be arrested, despite the fact that the kid wanted it. Kid consent. The kid wanted it. Kid knew exactly what the kid was doing. You stupid fucking bitch.
All right, hang on a sec, gang. Hang on. I gotta have y'all. I gotta have y'all hear this again, because I'm gonna make a very controversial fucking argument after this. So let's hear this again.
Smoke weed. We don't let them purchase the adults in the room. I don't fucking know. But apparently you missed 7th grade civics class, okay?
Pay attention closely.
You stupid fucking bitch. We have laws. Children can't consent. The adults in the room are held responsible for the things that the children do. We don't let children drink alcohol. We don't let them purchase it. We don't let children smoke cigarettes. We don't let them purchase it. We don't let children smoke weed. We don't let them purchase legal weed either. We don't let children skip school. parents are held responsible for truancy. The guy who sold those things to the children would be arrested, despite the fact that the kid wanted it. Kid consent. The kid wanted it. Kid knew exactly what the kid was doing. You stupid fucking bitch. You get it? Do you fucking get it? This is the social contract we have. We protect children who are not fully fucking formed yet. The adults in the room who are fully fucking formed are held responsible. And again, she's not even talking about a Romeo.
All right. So you heard this, right? We don't let children do this. Children can't consent to these things. What do we do instead? We hold the motherfucking adults responsible. What I would say is, fine, maggots. You want to play this fucking game? Go ahead. Tell us what they were doing was illegal prostitution. Tell us we shouldn't prosecute the men who did this to them because, again, they got paid. Cha-ching! You heard what she said. Transaction complete. But in accordance with American law, since children are also too young to be tried as adults and incarcerated for these things, what did she just say we do? And when they do something like get found with alcohol or break one of these other laws, didn't she say we hold the adults responsible? Mm-hmm. Boy, this be a very different fucking conversation if we said, fine, yeah, these men get off the hook because these young ladies were engaged in illegal prostitution and they got paid. Again, cha-ching, transaction complete. And that means their motherfucking parents are going to jail. That would be consistent, would it not? That would, because again, if I provide that alcohol and some teen drinks themselves to death or gets behind the wheel of a car and crashes, the adult who provided the alcohol is going to jail. If a child overdoses on drugs and it turns out that drug was provided by a goddamn aunt or uncle or some shit like that, again, that motherfucker is going to jail. Y'all just heard it. We hold the adults in the room responsible when children break these laws, regardless of if the children wanted it and if the children knew what they were doing. I bet your bottom dollar these fascist fucking conservatives would not be talking greasy like this about the Epstein files if it was the Christian conservative parents' ass that was going to end up in jail if we accepted this argument about prostitution. So go ahead, let's go there.
I had wondered where the parents were as far as these young women who were trafficked to some degree. Well, if the young kid runs away, the parents are probably looking for their child. When I go to a Walmart, I'll see them on the wall. Kids, like, where'd they go? And it could be someone ran away and their situation is improved, or someone ran away and they've passed away, or their situation is now terrifying and they need to get rescued out of it. You know, any of those are possibilities. But I think in a situation like that, obviously there's a parent or two parents out there grieving for the loss of their child. We can't hold them accountable, and they probably did everything they could. The authorities might have been looking for the kids, but if they're on an island somewhere else, thousands of miles away, what can you do? What can you do? And one must understand how trauma works. Some things are so awful that the victims don't even want to speak about it.
Oh yeah.
It's not that they can't, it's that it physically hurts, or it sends them into a depression that they spent years trying to climb out of and finally made some progress, and then boom, they go right back to how they were feeling before.
Yeah, it's re-traumatization. A lot of people in this community deal with it. That's why, again, trigger warning for today's episode. I know it brings up a lot of painful experiences for people. I wanna say one more thing about this point because I find this is I'm gonna be honest with you. I find that this is a huge part of white supremacy, is the way that alignment with white dominance necessitates immoral behavior. And so what I find so interesting is I find this tool that I have, which is a very simple tool. It's just hypotheticals. You just put people in a hypothetical situation and ask what the behavior would be. And when you see a different behavior under a different hypothetical, it shows you that there actually is moral clarity under there. Somehow the person actually does see what the right thing to do is. Then you put it back into the real context, and all of a sudden you see the hypocrisy. So that's why I brought up this example, because it's really interesting. The current situation is we are trying to hold the men responsible. We are trying to hold the adults who committed these crimes responsible, especially if they're rich and powerful billionaires and all that shit. People want the accountability for the people responsible. And these people are saying, no, fuck that. Hey, I was sleeping around with older people when I was a teenager. They knew what they were doing. They got paid. They took $200. They weren't victims. They were prostitutes. Okay? So now I came in and said, well, listen, I'm going to take your argument. Hypothetically, I'm going to go with you. That was not child sexual assault. That was illegal prostitution with somebody who happened to be underage. I am with you. But just like over here in these other situations, turns out these children are too young to be held responsible. And in other situations, like I gave you the examples of providing them alcohol, providing them drugs, putting them in a dangerous situation, sending them to work in a fucking, mine, and the goddamn mine collapses on them. Yeah, we hold the adult responsible. So that means, all those right-wing conservative parents whose children were victims of this, your ass is going to end up in jail now. Because
But wait, Pizzagate wasn't okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. As soon as if that actually became the law, magically, they would find moral clarity. All of a sudden, they'd be up in arms going, no, my child was under the influence of rich and powerful men, and they were manipulated. They were told they were going to have a modeling career and that they were going to get opportunities to travel around the world and meet celebrities and be on TV. And you can't, no, it's the rich and powerful men, right? They would treat it like drugs. They would treat those, you can't, I'm just the end user. You got to go after the dealers, right? All of a sudden, they would find the moral clarity if it was their ass on the line. Mm-hmm. But since it isn't their ass on the line, and in most cases, it isn't their child that they got to face as one of the victims in this actual case, all of a sudden, they play these fucking stupid ass word games. But if it was their ass on the hot seat, magically, they would all of a sudden know exactly who the bad guys are and exactly who should be held responsible. Isn't it amazing how selfishness works like that? Incredible.
Juliet situation. She is specifically talking about the right of millionaires and billionaires to pay $200 per massage, air quotes on the massage, for anyone who's just listening and not watching. She is defending their right to spend $200.
Thanks, Andrew. I wasn't really thinking about that, but I think they are technically classified as that. We kind of got there with the aroma thing, but I'm glad people that are catching up leave us stuff in the chat. Appreciate it.
I didn't see Andrew's comment.
Oh, he just said frankincense and myrrh are hallucinogenics from earlier. Yeah.
Thank you.
$100 on the body of children to keep them in fucking stables, to traffic them amongst their friends, political leverage and blackmail, because you knew what you were doing when you were 13 years old, making out with the boy behind the bleacher. So why can't these billionaires exploit the flesh of your fucking children? It makes perfect sense, right? You stupid fucking bitch. I am losing it. I have now heard these abominations amongst us, literally just walking amongst us, say these people only came forward because they wanted money. Now they're saying because they got money, they're not actually victims. Okay? Are you following? But they don't think. They lack the capacity to think. If they wanted money, Why are they going to the FBI? If they wanted money, why are they giving away their leverage? Right? They can't think that hard. They can't think that fucking hard. It's just obvious to the rest of us, right? Immediate thought, right? For the rest of us, like, well, it's probably credible if they're going to the fucking FBI when they're in their fucking 50s. But now they're saying because they cannot handle the idea that this man that they have decided to build the house of their identities around is a disgusting piece of shit, criminal, vile, evil, garbage pail of a fucking turd. They can.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt here.
I
And
do too.
oh,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
talk
You
about
go.
that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
If Donald Trump said he goes backstage at Miss Teen USA's beauty pageant and there are women, young girls that aren't fully dressed, but that's not too far. If Donald Trump routinely cheats his contractors, um, that's not too far. If Donald Trump would basically allow persons of color not to live in his apartment buildings, and his dad wouldn't either, and that's not too far. If Donald Trump will kiss and grab women inappropriately, and that's not too far, where is the bridge too far? When does it become easy to think that he would not participate in having relations with underage girls? At what point do we think he's too moral to do that? When does that happen? Because my brain can't do that math. I back on the Howard Stern show when I heard him say that, I'm like, this guy's out of control. He's out of control. So that's my 2 cents.
So I was just typing a message in chat to finish. Yeah,
That's all.
no, yeah, I totally agree with that. And the other thing I was going to mention is, well, because like you said, like it's very difficult after all of the stuff that we've seen to even believe that there's such thing as a bridge too far. Although I will say, for many of this, it does seem to be a bridge too far. To me, I'm not into it. Like, I don't think we can ever anticipate or predict that something's too far for them because we've seen so much. But it is always interesting to kind of see in real time when they do say, oh, okay, this is too much for me. And a lot of them have over this. I will say that. The other thing is, I feel like, again, to me, this is why Christianity has to go down with Trump. Because I could not have this conversation with a Christian in good faith without confronting them with their religious beliefs. Because I'm sorry, because the same thing they just said, like, she just said, like, this is too far, and this man that they've built this cult around and been following, been worshiping, is this terrible person. And I'm gonna say the same thing about the God they worship. Because I'm gonna say if you're serious, then we need to talk about your Christianity, because your God is worse than Trump. Your God murdered the whole planet. Your God endorsed the slavery. Your God endorsed the genocide. Your God commanded rape victims to marry their rapists. So I don't believe you are truly repulsed by this behavior. And if this behavior
That's
truly
interesting.
repulses you, then you would not be able to go worship that God.
That's very interesting, because that's why I'm not a Christian. It was chiefly the repulsive behavior of the biblical God, not how unbelievable some of the events
Right. I see.
spoken
Yeah.
of in the Bible are. It was the behavior. I'm like, how could I possibly be more moral than
But
a
see, I
God?
feel like that's your magic power. Like, you're really good at jumping into biblical scripture and philosophical arguments and going back and forth with these people. But I feel like if you just said to more people, like, let me tell you why I'm not actually a Christian. It's actually these terribly immoral things that God does in the Bible. And I don't know, you might have like a quick list. Maybe you've got like your top 3, maybe you've got like your top 5, right? Or top 10 if they're really coming over for dinner or something. But I just feel like, yeah, I just feel like that's so, because so many of us, like we never even get there, right? Because we're so busy with like the weird arguments or the stuff that's factually, and I feel like we don't do enough to just say like, no, your God's evil. And that's where I feel like this Trump thing is an opportunity. Like it's an opportunity, because here's the reality, what I really think. I really think these people did this with Trump because of Christianity. That's why it's so important to have that conversation, because it's Christianity that conditioned them to look the other way, to ignore the evil, because it made them feel good, because they were going to live forever, because it made them part of the special in-group, because it gave them power, because it aligned them with the most powerful force in the universe. And that's exactly what they did with Trump. They saw Trump as going to be the most powerful, leader of the free world. He's going to give them what they want politically. He's going to put them in the position of privilege and power. And so they overlooked it and not just that, the same way they do with their religion. They called everybody that was an outsider godless, evil, heathens, we had Trump derangement syndrome. That's why when leftists do this thing, I'm currently more infighting with the left than I am with the right, because the left is telling me that when MAGA sees the light, I have to welcome them with open arms and not talk about all the trauma they've caused us. I just have to want to win and have a big tent and be so glad that they're here now, that like I've baked cupcakes for them. And I'm like, that's never gonna happen. like the rest of the white libs, y'all go ahead and knock that one out. I won't be on that committee.
There's something going around that people keep repeating on the internet. Well, in 14 years, or whatever time period, no one will have voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
A Trump supporter. He just won't be around.
I remember this with Bush. I lived through that with George W. Bush.
I wish my memory was better so I can call people out on that. But because it's not, I screenshot things. So I could always type in their name to see if my phone has saved screenshots of them completely being on board, regardless of how ridiculous things have become. I do think, to a certain degree, Dr. Locker, your point is excellent in that their mind becomes accepting of certain behaviors that they wouldn't tolerate from members of their own family or friend groups. But they give a pass to God. Oh, God can do what he wants. It's all God's. I can't share that opinion. I just can't. Because if I had that kind of power, the last thing I would want is that kind of cruelty. I absolutely could not do it. I could not do it. As a person who's got compromised health, there's only so much I can do. And I was talking to a friend who's a sheriff's detective. This is which self-defense classes could you recommend to me? Because I can't spend 6 minutes fighting someone. My body won't take it.
Right.
I literally had to ask that question. But if it came down to my life or someone else's, I'm probably not winning that.
Honestly, for me,
strength alone, right?
This sounds crazy, but shout out to
Samami. I doubt it. Go ahead.
I would say firearm. Right, I can't own firearms, and I'm not a huge fan of guns. Let me just say that. But but what you said to me was real. If I was really feeling like, yo, I'm in the latter part of my life, I just ain't got 5 minutes of fighting in me, yeah, I'd be leaning towards a firearm. Me personally, I would just like I'm not a weapon person. I don't carry a weapon or anything like that. I'm not much of a fighter. If I was forced to, I guess I would fight for my life or try to intervene. I find it very interesting. I recently learned that like most people who stop active shooters are not citizens who stop active shooters are not actually armed themselves usually. It's usually an unarmed.
In Australia.
Yeah, that's how I learned after that. People were talking about it. And no, actually, this is like more normal than people realize. Most of the time when an active shooter is stopped by someone who is not law enforcement, that person is not the good guy with the gun stereotype. It's just some unarmed person who decided not today.
I didn't know that.
And so I'm more likely probably to roll out like that. Now, am I good enough or capable of taking the person down or whatever? That's a whole nother conversation. But my point being, if I really was fearing for my life, again, given my psychiatric history, I'm not legally permitted to own a firearm. But if I was, that would be probably the direction I went. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Instead, I try to make people laugh. But if
Yeah,
somebody
yeah,
tries to-
really,
if
right?
somebody tries to rob me,
I'm like, I can teach. I swear I
I'm
can
not
teach.
that,
Let me
I'm not
live.
that, I'm not that funny, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not that funny. That's why I'm like, I can teach. I swear I can teach. Let me live.
And you know, if my wife's life is threatened or my child's life is threatened, I'm assuming that I will try to find the best way to deal with the situation. If all they want is money, here's my entire wallet. You're just take it and go. Take it and go.
John said,
Because it's not
John
worth
said,
the
I'm
fight.
good. I'm good for 2.5 minutes, then I'm dead. I hate being old and drunk. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Real talk. Hey,
Well, to
oh,
your point about firearms, I went to a gun range back when I was working in Louisiana, and that day I learned I probably should just leave the guns to other people. But
yeah,
just
it's
came
no
with the
joke.
broadside of a barn with most of the weapons that they handed me, and I had an instructor. It wasn't that they just turned me loose in there and say shoot at the paper things. So for the most part, nah, I got no
Sumami said,
business.
let out a long, drawn out fart. Skunk
Tsunami,
defense.
this is just to make you laugh. My daughter must think that that is a traditional greeting from her father when she
Yeah.
wakes up in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
I
Yeah.
say hi to try to stop her from crying and
I
trying to
feel
get
like
her to
if
do that. But
I feel like if I actually was in that situation, I might just shit my pants anyway, and that would just take care of it for me. All right, let's get back to the very serious content that somehow ended up down this rabbit trail. All right.
Not reconcile that because it shakes their identities. And so a couple years ago, their entire identities were built up around the idea that they were the saviors of children. And now children aren't even really victims. They were compensated. They knew what they were doing. Unless, of course, Hillary Clinton had something to do with it, in which case that's still bad. Because even if they got paid by Hillary Clinton, children can't consent. But if their guy's doing it, he's just a little baby and everyone's just so after him. Why is everyone so mean to him? They're just jealous of him. Take that, libs. It's so fucking weird. If Hunter Biden benefits from his father being the president, you don't stop hearing about the Biden crime family. But when their guy and his entire progeny became billionaires in the last 12 months, really in the first 6 months of his fucking term. He's just a smart businessman. They're all just really smart businessmen. You know, he doesn't even take a salary. Prove it, by the way. This is not even in defense of fucking Hunter Biden, by the way. I don't care for those fucking weirdos either. My issue is with the fact that we have people walking amongst us who are not real people. They have no real fucking opinion. They have no real identity. They will literally be whoever their Lord and Savior Cheeto Christ needs them to be today. And he doesn't even direct.
But this is why, and again, I have the same thing with liberals, which is why I'm like, y'all keep playing around with Christianity. Don't talk to me. I'm so anti-religion that I don't even like other anti-religious people because they just are so fucking like not with it. It's like I'm sorry, I just can't. I cannot take people seriously when you let people cult like this. You cannot let people cult this hard and then like make a country where like so 70% of the people make being in this cult their entire identity and then be really, really surprised when they do cult shit. I'm sorry, but that like drives me. It makes me feel like I'm going insane. It's like making sure everybody only sees one color, red. Everything has to be motherfucking red. And then everybody freaks out when you ask people what their favorite color is, and they're like, red. Everyone's like, oh my God, how the fuck could your favorite color be red? How could you not pick green or blue or orange or purple? They're like, red. All I've ever known my whole life was red. Everything I see is red. Red, 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 red. I don't even know. Are other colors? That's what I feel like. We live in this world where literally, like, if I drive from here to my place of employment, I literally might pass 10 fucking churches. Every person I meet and know, like, gang, we are doing something weird in the internet. There's 20 of y'all here. There's me. There's him. So let's say there's 22 non-believers here. Let's say there's 20 non-believers here. Maybe there's a couple of y'all weird non-atheist out there or whatever. So there's 20 of us gathered. Y'all, there are 20 of us gathered on the internet. In my real life, I consider my internet people my real life, but let's just say in person, in my physical Jersey-based life, I do not actually know any atheist. And damn sure don't know any black atheist. And I damn sure can't have a fucking Pinochle game where all the other 3 players are atheists. And get 20 atheists together in the same place for a motherfucking barbecue? Impossible, right? So that's what I mean. Like our life, everybody I know is in this motherfucking cult. I don't talk to my mom's side of the family because they're a fucking cult. So I'm being a little, I know it sounds a little bit facetious, but I'm kind of not being facetious. I think it's fucking absurd that we let this country cult this hard, that we are so afraid to tell people that Christianity is bullshit and it makes them sign up and go along with a bunch of evil ass nonsense. And then we turn around and we act shocked every time they overlook atrocities the same exact way they're doing in a cult, the same exact way they're doing in politics. And I'm looking at them people on the left and the people who are shocked and surprised and going, what the fuck is wrong with you? This is what you should expect from these people.
He just does his worst, and then they just change. They mold to him. He hates immigrants, they hate immigrants. He says, but these immigrants are okay. They say, yeah, but these immigrants are okay. He says, we've got enough skilled labor in the country. We don't need these immigrants here teaching us how to make Hyundais. And they say, yeah, fuck them. We don't need these guys teaching us how to make Hyundais. And he's like, wait, no, yes, we do. And then they're like, yeah, guys, we definitely need them. It's like they've got the intelligence of 3-year-olds. They're not even as intelligent as my cats. My cats can stand firm in what they want and what they don't want, what they like and what they don't like. These people can't even do that. And really, I'm being generous saying a 3-year-old. It's more like a 2 to 3-year-old. If mom says it's cool, it's cool. If dad likes it, I like it. If dad hates it, I hate it. Like, they're still at that stage where, like, if someone were to look at their mom or dad the wrong way, they'll, like, go up to them and kick them in the shin. That's the level they're at. Which brings me, of course, naturally, to late stage abortion. Their Lord and Savior, Cheeto Christ, is obviously into that now. He's into after birth, late stage abortion. And I don't want to take that away from them. I really don't. So I don't think that there should even be an age limit on how late it can be. You know where I'm going with this. I think that
so I don't know if people know, but there's a story going around that Trump.
It's horrible.
That Trump was involved in having a baby deleted because it would have been clearly a problem for someone to discover the existence of that child.
60 years old.
Can you pause?
Sorry.
Quick?
Yeah.
A couple of quick notes on that, folks. The story is someone's. I don't know if it was sworn testimony, but it's in the Epstein files itself, themselves. And if you start Googling it, you're going to see it on the page. Like, you're going to see it there. And the young girl's uncle, Trump, the story goes, well, you could read it. Just read it. But he was present, according to the story. So he knew it was happening and he didn't do anything to stop it. Um, I don't know if it's true. I don't know if he has said that it absolutely didn't happen. Um, and if it was in a court of law, would he testify? Well, he didn't testify when he was on trial, so I'm assuming he will now be testifying. So um, I, I think people should look it up. And I will say this to the members of the FBI who used a black highlighter. Uh, well played, because I think a lot of them probably hated what they were doing. Like, this is immoral to block this material out. This is immoral to hide things that this man has. I guess the people involved that were not victims, uh, they're given too much of a pass with all this redaction business. So you make it easy for people to figure out what you did, and that's why there's more ways than one to figure out what's behind that redaction stuff there. And I don't think they're not. I don't think they're finished releasing things that are decodable.
Facts. Facts.
So
All right, y'all. Let's. She's about to wrap this up.
Even be an age limit on how late it can be. You know where I'm going with this. I think that you can be 60 years old and get aborted. Why not? Definitely 60, right? Why not? Why not? I guess I'm special too. Now that your account's been banned, what else do you have to live for, really? Really? And I think that as a member of this community, I should be able to exercise my right to suggest a little late stager over here. I'll
No.
give you $200.
No.
Think about it. Think about consenting
She's not
for
being
$200.
serious.
You wouldn't want to
well,
let
she
your
still
Lord and
shouldn't
Savior
say it,
down,
even though
would
she's
you?
not being serious.
Well, I'm not going to police jokes about assholes. All right. Let's jump into the Shayna portion of the show for our regulars. Know we love us a good Shayna Condi piece around here. We also love a good show where I forget to put people's links in the description and then I have to drop it in the chat. All right, but let's go ahead and jump into this. We're talking about Project 2026 and hopefully y'all will see the connection.
Just casually continuing the Project 2026. Yes, you heard me right. Project 2026. It has already been drafted. They already have the outline, and they are well underway of making our worst dreams also our realities. I already have one video talking about it right up here, but there's so many other elements of it that I just wanted to share them with you all. I've gotten this straight off of the Heritage Foundation website. If you would like to read along, please. I'll include the link to this below. So the first video, what was the first video about? The first video was about what they're going to be doing with like pregnant people, with anybody with a uterus. If you have a uterus or you know somebody with a uterus or you love somebody who has a, just give that one a watch. Now we're going to be talking about education and what their plans are for the education system. And they also give some hints in this about how this plan has been set long ago and how they're going to start reaping the benefits of their demonic work in 2026.
Okay, I just have to say something that is, again, this all ties to what we've been talking about, especially their sort of systematic efforts of just sort of ruining everything. But one thing I don't think gets talked about enough that actually feel that I guess I personally feel responsible for talking about it more, although I think it may have consequences. I'm really struggling with my career, gang, because I'm between, it's like I'm trying to find like some stability so I could do something long term, because most people become academics because they want stable long-term employment. But I'm also like morally convinced that I need to continue things that are not necessarily safe. But so that's just my personal struggle. Anyway, part of that is I feel like I need to be more vocal about the fact that most religions, and Christianity in particular, and therefore Christians almost by definition, are anti-science and also broadly anti-education. And That is something people don't want to hear, just like they don't want to hear Christianity is responsible for child abuse. Like, again, how many children are beaten because of spare the rod, spoil the child? How many of those parents that when they beat their children, and you're like, hey, I don't think you should beat your children. What on earth makes you think you should beat your children? They'll be like, Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child. And then I'll be like, cool. So your Christianity is responsible for you beating your children. And they'll be like, yes. And then I'll be like, sounds like Christianity causes the abuse of a lot of children. And they'll say I'm persecuting Christians. Anyway, Christianity is also fundamentally anti-education. It has to be. It's not true. It's mythology. It is cult-like. That is what you really see happening in that story, like about the girl from Oklahoma who was asked to write the essay about gender, but instead responded with a bunch of bullshit about what God wants from people. That's yes, that's a story about how queer phobic they are and anti-LGBTQ and how dumb that child is and how they use their faith as an excuse to literally just not do their homework. But it also is about how Christianity is fundamentally anti-education, to uphold and believe the things that Christianity needs you to believe, like Christianity as a social phenomena, not just the church, but like the church and the institutions and the power structure, all of that. For all of that to be upheld, it's really important that you don't learn. If you learn history, that's going to undermine your faith. If you learn and truly understand science, that's going to. So they have to do this very thing where they have to go along with like the social norm of being pro-education and pretending they want people to go to college. But what they really want you to do is they want you to do that, and then they want you to use it as job training. Like they want you to get there. That's why they put emphasis on skills. Like you go to school to learn skills and get a career, right? Because then you can become like a business person, or like you can learn like engineering or medicine, even like learn a skill, and then like don't think, like don't do biology. Like if you're gonna go like biology or STEM, like do medicine, do engineering. Don't like learn natural history, right? Do philosophy, do whatever, but don't do like real shit. Like that's why they're that way, because they have to use it to like channel you into something where you can become a high earner, and then you can use that earning to prop up the church. But they don't want you to go to college and become a critical thinker or to study the type of things that will actually make you smart, right? And then what they're also doing is at the same time, they're literally trying to undermine the ability of the university to even teach you those things, making your gender studies professors afraid to actually teach you about the differences between sex and gender, making your biology professors afraid to actually teach you about evolution. That way, even if you veer off into the things that you should learn that would challenge it, you're being protected from those challenges. And people who don't want to really deal with how uncomfortable that is, or they're very uncomfortable with the truth. Institutionally, socially, the way the church and the faith operates is inherently anti-education. That is literally the reason they insist on private schools and homeschooling. Yes, some of it is socialization. Some of it is they don't want you like mixing with the heathen children and learning how to sin from them. But they also don't want you going to a public school where they don't have control over what you are taught. So yeah, I just want to mention that and keep that as the frame for this conversation.
Not trying to
You
freak
know,
anybody out.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
If
Sorry, I didn't want to get in here.
if I were president, I would invite these Heritage Foundation folks to the White House. Y'all, come on over. We'll have cocoa. It's winter. We'll have cocoa. And I'll say, I put a team together to do some research. We've located several countries that have already implemented these ideas that are in Project 2025 and Project 2026. Tonight, you're moving to one. You don't have to stay, but for the next 2 years, you're going to have to live in one of those countries.
Mm.
United States government is going to take care of your rent. We'll buy all your food and all and that sort of thing. So you don't even have to have a job while you're there. You're just going to be there. And if you decide that you love it, I'll make arrangements where you can stay. You'll have to get a job after that, but you can stay. Um, and then everything will take care of your things here. You don't have to put anything in storage. We'll, let your pipes drip in winter, so you don't have a one burst or anything like that. We'll look after your things here. But we want to move on without these ideas because they're not good for us. If you can live in a culture where those ideas are the norm and be okay with it, go. But don't, America is not an experiment in how disastrous we can make it, right? How hard can we make it for people? It's not that. We had slavery for a while, and that was how hard can we make it for people. We moved on. The nation grew up enough that we moved on. But yeah, I can say after I've lived in foreign countries before. I lived in Georgia, I lived in Bulgaria, I've lived in Anguilla, which is a freaking island paradise. I've lived in other countries before for extended periods of time. You see the differences. The way they handle healthcare is different. The way that their food tastes different. Blah blah blah. But we can just go on and on and on and on. If you don't like it here, you won't make it worse by leaving here and going somewhere else. And they should just try that. What a peaceful solution. Just pack up and go. If you hate the immigration, you can pack up and go. You don't like the water, you don't like the food, you don't like, the diversity, you could just pack up and go. I don't care whether
But see,
you're a
that's
Latin
funny. They
racist, a white
they
racist,
love
a
it
black
here.
racist, or
Nah,
they
they would
love
never.
they love their situation here. And look, are really is something like Project 2025 an insurance policy so that they can keep their lifestyle? I doubt it. I doubt it. I was in a restaurant this morning with my family and some friends and a bunch of people I had never seen before. A few regulars were in there. If one of those people didn't show up today because they had something better to do, chances are it would have affected the lives of no one who did come. Right? The rest of us would have gone there, enjoyed ourselves, enjoyed our meals, and been on our way. We won't miss things. If they added a new menu item, some people might have tried it, whatever. Most of us probably would have got the same thing we had anyway. These suggestions are improving the lives of very few people who would have been okay anyway. And they're finding new segments of society to ruin things for. So those people with the power, with the means, you can just pack up and go live somewhere else. Go live on Lake, what is it, Como in Italy, like where it's stunningly gorgeous there. Go somewhere like that.
Just give me one sec.
Sure, sure, sure. Anyway, folks, I'm sure you can tell I'm like the goody two shoes kind of person who wants everybody to be happy and everybody to be able to be at their best without harming others, because that's something that's, you know, I think that's the admirable path. Um, and it's possible for quite a few people to proceed through life that way. It's not possible for some, though. I do realize that. And for those people, I don't really have a solution other than keep trying. You
All
can
right, all
be
right,
non-destructive.
all right. Here we go.
It's important for all of us to stay informed. So if you also would like to stay informed, please like, share, subscribe, all of that sexy stuff. And if you are interested in getting out, head over to Black Babes Abroad. Are you a black babe? Oh my God, absolutely go over there. If you're not a black babe, if you are marginalized, femme, or woman, just head over there, get your resources. Get your resources. The last thing that you want to be in this period of time is uninformed. We also have a free get out of here checklist in the description. Get your resources. Now let's dive in. Let's start a reading. Expand education freedom. Parents, not bureaucrats, should be making decisions about their children's education. And look at these two happy white people. That poor baby don't even know what he's posing for. Also, is that baby wearing glasses? Looks like disability advocacy to me. Get that woke baby off my screen. This isn't incredibly long, so I will be reading all of it and providing commentary and things, just things that we should keep in mind throughout. So, from the top, the education system is failing our children, from the scourge of woke ideas like critical race theory and radical gender ideology to the lack of academic excellence and transparency. I just really want to point out the absolute paradox of that first sentence being like, oh, well, we want academic excellence, but we also really believe in black and white thinking in the most literal way. Like, black people over there in the corner, we don't need to know anything about you. White people over here, radical gender ideology. What do you mean that there
Yeah, and also
might
they're
be
not the same at all. Like, it bothers me that people even think this. First of all, critical race theory is not even woke. Like, being woke is like being aware of injustice and thinking it's a problem. Critical race theory is a perspective in sociology, basically, that helps you think about things through a lens that we call critical race. Now, that doesn't there's no real advocacy or social justice things explicitly tied to having that theoretical perspective, and it's actually problematic that people don't realize that. And gender ideology is also a funny one too, because gender ideology is something that everyone has. It's inescapable. Everybody lives in a society where gender is a social construct, and gender is constructed differently in different cultures and in different settings. And that collection of ideas, values, and understanding is called a gender ideology. So it's inescapable to have gender ideology. And so these people are that fucking insane that they don't realize that. And so what they're using is gender ideology as a stand-in for what they perceive to be a specific gender ideology, specifically like being pro-LGBTQ, or like what the pro-trans is really what that's like mostly about, which is ironic because, again, people who teach those things, especially in university or academic settings, also do teach about gender ideology. And so certainly you could say, like, for instance, I'm trans accepting and I accept, trans people as their correct gender. And I think that their, birth documentations were erroneous documents that should simply be corrected. Yes, you could say that is a gender ideology because it is me having specific set of ideas and values and articulating those. And so, yes, you could say that that's a gender ideology. But again, everybody has gender ideology. It's just a matter of what gender ideology it is. So the great irony is their bullshit about there are only two genders because there are only two sexes and it was determined by my God and my God created the blase and the flavonoids. That is actually a gender ideology, and it's an extreme one, and it is an extremely false one that is just fucking not true. The irony, though, is me just describing transness or just teaching students this is what it means to be homosexual, or me teaching students, yes, there are Native American cultures that have third genders, and sometimes these people are called two-spirit. That is actually not gender ideology. So literally the only thing up in this shit that's not ideology is just teaching it based on when you're teaching it, you're just teaching the facts. You're just saying, this is a thing that exists. This is how this culture understands a thing. gay people are real, and also we can measure all sorts of shit about their behavior, and turns out they're gay. That's the only
So
thing that's not ideology.
wait, help me out. So when you were teaching, you were in the Linsky lab and you were studying genetics and things like that and teaching genetics. Are you are you saying you skipped the part where man and woman human beings was created from the dust of the ground?
Yeah, we skipped. Yeah,
You
we
left
did.
that out?
We left that part out. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Then that's probably the problem. That's probably where we went wrong. It's probably
So
you know what? That's
if
probably why they're doing a 40-year experiment, because they forgot the God part in the beginning. And if they'd have put the God part in the beginning, they'd have figured it out, and it would have been like a 2-week experiment
they would have been finished before lunch,
done.
just could have been easy. Let's not complicate things.
Let's go get
Um,
nachos.
exactly. I think what what should be important is to realize there are always going to be lots of perspectives. Making society the best it can be is important for sure. Um, Respecting the fact that people are different and will have differing opinions is important. When those opinions aren't necessarily correct, confronting that is also important. We don't want people to go around believing, well, some people have an interest in people believing wrong things, but by and large, we should not believe wrong things. We should believe true things. That helps us find solutions more simply, I would think. And I would think that what we are in search of, because we are a society, we are participating in life together in communities, right? We have a common goal of, for the most part, we have a common goal of flourishing. The things that detract from that, we need to learn to drop those burdens and continue on with our flourishing. Go ahead, Pocket Locker.
Yeah. So I just want to clarify this to people, because it does keep coming up, and it is related to what I teach. Not the stuff from the Lenski lab, that's evolutionary biology, but my background is in sociology and biological anthropology, and it is in human sexuality. And so I've taught sex and evolution. And this coming semester, I'm teaching sex and evolution in addition to a class about wellness, and Darwin's Law. So I literally have to teach about these things. And I've also been teaching intro to sociology. And one way I can relate it to people, so what I'm trying to say, to be clear, folks, is that everybody has a gender ideology, because the ideological part is like any other ideology, how your ideas, values, and all of those things come together to inform your perspective of the world. But just describing things, which is usually what you do when you're teaching, is not ideological. And one way people might be able to relate to this is, it's sort of like when you're in a debate with a Christian and they keep insisting that atheism is your worldview. And you keep trying to tell them over and over and over again, atheism isn't a worldview. It's just a description of a state of mind, which is that I lack a belief in God, right? Now, you might lack that belief in God and become, say, a secular humanist and say, I'm an atheist, but my actual worldview or my actual perspective is secular humanism. Yes, my atheism informs my worldview in the sense that the fact that I don't believe in a God contributes towards me, valuing secularism and humanism, but that does not make atheism itself an ideology, right? The problem that we need to be able to combat when conservatives have this narrative and they're railing about gender ideology, first thing you have to remember that they're really attacking the teaching of sex and gender, to say that the very act of teaching about sex and gender is promoting a gender ideology, and that is not true. Further, their views of gender, that there are only two genders and there's only two sexes and God created male and female and it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, that whole deal, that is a gender ideology. And it's an extreme gender ideology. and it's an untrue gender ideology. So it is important to understand this so you can like put it back on and like, no, your bullshit is actually the gender ideology. It's a fucking extremist gender ideology, and it's fucking incorrect. Now, somebody teaching sex and gender might teach about inclusive ideologies. They might say, yes, some people have an inclusive view and yada, 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 and some people are this way and some people are that way. And they may have their own ideology, and they may like also share that with their students. For instance, I consider myself, not just personally, but from an academic perspective, I consider myself a feminist, consider myself someone whose critical race theory is central to how I think about things. I consider myself someone who evolutionary thinking and conflict theory and things like that. These are things that are very important to who I am intellectually. And so me telling my students these things is not me trying to promote some, again, ideology on them or to coerce them into being like me. It's called motherfucking transparency. And I want my students to be able to think critically, not just about what they're learning, not just about what I'm teaching them, but who is teaching them. And so that they can make their own decisions about where my particular biases and filters might be. And so it's very important that people understand this, because this is the type of shit that we take personally as educators, and it pisses us off. Like, yes, it is. I do feel like it's good for me to be honest with my students about ideology. So I'm going to tell my students, yeah, hell yeah, I think trans women are women, and I think trans men are men. I think trans is beautiful. I will not tolerate any disrespect of trans people. And I'll be honest, trans people need to be doing sports, and they need to be able to use the correct I will say all of those things. I will tell them that, because again, I think it's important that they understand where I'm coming from. And I will confess that, yes, that is my ideological approach to these things. I will admit that I too have a gender ideology. But when I am teaching them about the differences between sex, for instance, being determined biologically, and we're talking about chromosomes and hormones and gonads and on and on and on, versus gender as a socially constructed sense of the self that's based on, you know, gender roles and expectations and, you know, how you see yourself and the performance of gender and how culture determines what is considered masculine or feminine, or is there recognition or acknowledgement of multiple genders or multiple sexes. When I am just describing those things and giving my students the vocabulary to understand them, and they are learning those things and writing about those things and taking tests about those things, that in and of itself is not an ideological exercise. It is literally you just teaching students facts about the world and facts about the discipline. You are not telling them that they have to have your ideology because you're teaching them these things. And you are not insisting that they have any ideology at all. Again, you are just teaching them these things, and the only thing you are requiring them to do is to understand it and reflect that understanding in their writing, in their discussion, and on their goddamn assessments, their quizzes and their tests. That's it. I could have a Christian student in my class, and I've had many Christian students in my classes. I think about like some Christian students I had this semester who I know good and goddamn well do not believe trans people are who they say they are. And they do not believe in multiple genders. And they think people were created. And they're not with it. But again, they understood in my class, they have to understand what third gender means, and they have to understand the difference between gender and sex, and they have to understand that gender is a social construct and sex is biological. And even if that is not in aligned with their personal ideology, they have to put the correct answer on the test, or I'm going to mark it wrong. And so it's really important that we tell people the truth about what real education actually looks like, so that they can't just keep saying this fucking nonsense. And I know that was a long rant, but like, I feel like if y'all don't hear this from me, if y'all don't hear this from educators who actually have to deal with these things in real life, in real college classrooms, then like, who's going to help people have this type
Yeah.
of clarity. So thanks for bearing with me.
Well, in a way, Pocket Locker, what you've said, dovetails into something that I've talked about here, and that's a lot of evangelical Christians, not all, but a lot of them want the Bible taught in schools. And I gotta get some time to make the video that says when you do that, you can give it 2 more years before your kids won't go to church with you without laughing at you. It's going to
Yeah,
be over. That'll
yeah,
be the last
yeah,
because
yes,
they'll just know, like, wait,
yes,
that's not
yes,
mom, like that's not how it works. When
yeah,
your 7-year-old looks at you and says mom or dad, that's not how it works. How are you going to react? Because this is not some electronic gizmo that they've figured out and you haven't. This is the book that you said you live your life by.
yes.
And they're
So,
telling you you can't make a person from dirt or sand. You
so
can't do it.
what's
There's no firmament surrounding the earth, mom.
I think that's really interesting what you brought up because I strongly oppose the university having any sort of religion thing going, right? Like I literally complain when like the president like prays at a public event or mentions like God bless somebody or uses Christianese in a public setting. Like when I was at a Catholic university, I had to just stomach that stuff. When I'm in a public university setting, I literally complain. Like it literally bothers me. Um, so I would oppose the conservative effort at including the Bible in the classroom for which should be obvious reasons, violation of separation church and state and all, and the establishment clause and all of that. But in a sense, personally, I actually think you're right. And I would love it for that reason because I'd be like, oh, now I get to bring this in, compare it to the scientific narrative. Then let's see what the evidence says. And yeah. And literally what I do instead is there are many opportunities where, especially in the social sciences, where you can bring the religious doctrine into the course. It just has to be restricted kind of to the topic at hand. So, for instance, if I'm teaching a social class and we're talking about deviance and we're talking about what various perspectives of deviance are, one of the things they're introduced to are absolutist views of deviance. And an absolutist view of deviance is something that says something is wrong all of the time, no matter what, because it's like inherently evil. And there are also moralist views of deviance that suggest that something is right or wrong based on whether it is morally appropriate or not. That's different than, for instance, than like a statistical view of deviance, which says things are considered deviance when they're uncommon, or a criminal view of deviance where something is considered deviant because it's against the law, right? There's lots of views of deviance, right? But when I talk about, for instance, those moralistic and absolutist views, I can talk about religion and I can talk about religious doctrine because that is an appropriate and often, to be honest, the most common source of those views, right? So then I can say, well, the Bible says this. And I do that all the time, right? And I like doing it for those reasons because it allows me to draw a contrast between what the Bible says. So for instance, we're talking about sex and gender, that's another thing we can do. When you're talking about sex and gender, we can talk about scripture, and I can bring in the fact that scripture says he created them male and female, and that leads to gender essentialism. And so a lot of times queer phobia and transphobia results from people's understanding of their doctrine, right? So when I'm having so you see, like when I'm having those conversations, I can go there, and I definitely look to. But yeah, it would be sort of an interesting day if if like the PragerU people got what they wanted, and like we had to really we were like forced to teach the Bible in all of these classes, because
Well,
then yeah, I'd go full
I,
hog on it.
I think a lot of look, here's another dilemma with it. Okay, and maybe I should make that video. This is a music box that I got for my wife. We saw it at an estate sale. She wanted it. It was priced fairly high for something at an estate sale, but that sale was ending, And I went back in, and I said, what can you do for me for this thing? My wife really likes that. They basically, it was almost free, marked down. It was almost free. Just, you want a few other things. Just kind of give me this for that, and you take all that stuff. Okay, thank you. Now, here's a lesson that your child, if you want the Bible taught in school, here's a lesson that your child could teach you. What if I took this music box and I destroyed it right in front of my wife? What's the lesson there? The lesson is, well, mom and dad, the Bible says that God hurt these Egyptians. He killed their firstborn children because he wanted the Hebrews to go free, and Pharaoh was like relenting. He did really want them to go free. He thought he still had power and control and stuff like that, and God destroyed all those innocent people. I know the music box didn't do anything to hurt anybody, but and I know that you guys like it, but I broke it because I had the power to break it anyway. I had that power. So that's what I did. Well, why would you do that? That was wrong. But was it wrong for God to do it? No. Then it's not wrong for me to do it. Yes, it was. No, it's not. You're going to get in that loop and you're not going to win, because your child now will take that one example and they will keep applying it, and you will keep telling them they're wrong, and they will keep thinking that they're right because you told them that the supreme authority of the universe rests in God. And you have a minister every Sunday telling them to be Christ-like, to be godly. And so what behavior are you going to see? Once they know what's in that Bible for themselves, they're going to want to be like gods. They can't perform a miracle, but they do have some power. And that power might become destructive if they don't know how to be creative with it.
Well,
And not every kid knows how to be creative.
this ties to my discussion of religious families becoming the cult in effect. Yeah, I'm a fan of basically saying that Christians love like Yahweh, and that's what I mean. That you know, we say there is no hate quite like Christian love, but that is their thing, right? There is this God that is cruel, that is evil, that has done all the terrible things, that commands all the terrible stuff, and they say he is love, he is good, he is light, he can only do good. And so then they are the same way. They are the same way in their relationships. To be loved by Christians is terrible. That's why
Not true. That's not
serious.
true.
Oh, that's how
Yeah,
I
you have
feel about
people.
it.
Yeah, it is, and you're entitled to feel that way. I think you have people that will abuse their spouses. They're people who don't love properly, right? They call what they do loving, and it's not. They're Christians who give up they literally give up everything to go spread the gospel, because they want people, as many people as possible, to go to heaven. That is their faith, and they go do it. Right?
But yeah,
Some
I think that's
good might come out
terrible.
of that. Okay, okay. But my point being is there are those who sacrifice their own comfort to comfort
I
others.
know a
That's
lot
my
of
situation right
I
now.
know a lot of used cars. I know a lot of salesmen. They'll travel all over that country in search of that commission. Man, they really think, shit, why am I selling these term life insurance policies in Florida? I could go to Africa. They need term life insurance in Africa too. I don't know. I just think they're all con artists, and I think they're sub-adult. I just think it's time to
Not
stop giving.
all. Hashtag not all.
No, I'm not a hashtag not all Christians guy.
I'm
You
a
and Uncle
hashtag
Bobby.
not
I'm gonna
all.
let you and Uncle Bobby keep your hashtag not all Christians. I'm hashtag all Christians. All right, let's get back into this.
Somebody other than man and woman. Also, are women people? No, because that sounds like Radical gender ideology.
There it
We
is.
continue on. Parents, not bureaucrats, should be making decisions about their children's education aligned with their values. Heritage is focused on loosening Washington's grip on K through 12 and higher education. Heritage will work to safeguard parental authority over their children's education.
All right, so Sumami brought up an interesting point. Sometimes Sumami just be getting at me, and I'd be like, I ain't fucking with you right now, Sumami. Y'all know Sumami's my dog, yo. I love love this woman. I'm trying to find your
Please
I
read what she
am,
said
but
for us.
I'm trying to find the. Oh, here we go. If we're including the Bible or Ten Commandments, let's include the Vedas and the Gita. How about the Quran or the Pali Canon? So my thing is, I'm always saying this is why you can't do these things, because I want to teach science. And so when I go in my class and I'm like, I want to teach how humans got here. So let's hop on into this evolution, because trust me, there's so much to learn that you can take this whole class and I could spend every waking moment in this class teaching you about evolution, and you'd still barely fucking know anything about evolution. I have a dual PhD in evolution, and guess what? I literally barely know anything about evolution. I'm still an early career scientist, so I know jack shit compared to the people who have been doing this for a really long time. I was not even a biology major, so I don't have that foundation going for me, right? But it's just the reality. Even an early career PhD in a field knows very little about the entirety of that field, and same can be said for the motherfuckers who are about to retire. Point being, if I had to then talk about the Christian approach and the Muslim approach and the Vedas approach and the Gita approach and the Quran, and oh Lord mercy, if I gotta include the Pali Canon, I'm literally never gonna get to Darwin. Darwin, gang, we're gonna teach you about how humans got here, and we'll introduce you to Charles Darwin in your 4th semester, because we're gonna spend the first 3 semesters going through the various religious, creation myths. So
Hmm.
I'm with when Suami brought this up. I'm just like, yeah, see, that's why we can't be doing this. But then Sumami slid through with this other really good point. Unfortunately, I don't think any real pushback will happen regarding the seeping in of evangelical Christianity until the other religious groups do something about it themselves. And I
Oh,
could
that's
not
where the
agree
real
with
power
this
is. That's
more.
where the real power
Yeah, I
is.
could not agree with
Saying
this more.
saying we want equal time.
Yeah, and
Um,
as soon as this started coming up again, PC said to me, because we were talking about this in a gather, she was saying, Satanists, we need you. This is when we hit up them Satanists. We need them Baphomet statues. We need the Satanists being like, hey, we want to get up in here too. All right, go ahead, my black friend.
well, I want to thank Sumami for her comments. She reminded me of something. So in the Bible, there are around 613 commandments. It's generally accepted there's 613 um, by scholars. Uh, 10 of them are famous, and about 4 of those I think are essentially the same commandment about being respectful towards God. So if that's true, about 1% are worth remembering, worth publishing. About 1% is worth publishing of the 613 in terms of what to put on a wall, right? In a school or in front of a public government owned building. Let that sink in, that there's all this other stuff that they just couldn't be bothered to put in. If we were to dig into that, we could find rules about how much to sell your children for as slaves. Is
Yeah,
is is that is that a valuable commandment for our modern times? Is not seething a calf in its mother's milk, which is one of the 10 commandments. It was an ancient fertility ritual. Is that relevant to our modern times? Should we all not be doing that? should we all not be cooking a calf in its mother's milk?
Yeah.
So I think we have to keep in mind that we don't have a perfect system yet. We can strive for one, but I think teaching the Bible in school doesn't get us there. As an unelected class, and once you're in university level, I say go for it. If
Yeah,
you
no,
want that sort
I
of guidance, go for it.
the,
But at elementary, middle, and high school student, when we have people that can't spell or use spell check graduating from high school, we have bigger problems. And teaching people the Bible so they can ignore that too isn't one of those problems.
so I actually think I'm reprioritizing sort of my stance against religion. I've always been that the chief number one problem is that it's not true. Um, but now I'm thinking I need to reprioritize to all the evil shit. It's a little bit harder because I don't know as much of the evil shit outside of Christianity. I'm much stronger on it's not true for everything else than I am because I'm just not as familiar with all the problematic shit, and I usually have to like look into that. But the other thing, so I think from now on, the evil shit should probably be number one or two. And the other thing that should be up there that I'm not sure if it should be number one or two is that it's useless. And then I think number three should actually be that it's not true. Now, why I mention that and why it's important is because it kind of speaks to what we're talking about. I don't think we should have these religious texts in the classroom, but I believe that if we did, they would get exposed, and like you said, it would very quickly lead to a serious downfall for them. So now I can't necessarily rely on explicit instruction with it in the classroom to show that it's untrue or it's evil. So where we push instead is to make it obsolete. And that's why its uselessness becomes important. And that is what we're currently teach, right? We teach you to go through and learn all your disciplines and go to college and then learn how the world works and start your career and realize that you actually did not need theology at any point along the way to actually learn how the world works. So I think we should lean on that uselessness since we can't actually bring it in. All right, quick little baby time. Y'all get your little baby thing going. I don't know what to say. I'm not a parent. Parents and babies or whatever. Damn it! How does this show work?
I don't know.
Who's producing
The
this?
lighting is really good, my dear. It's really good lighting. She was just crying and she's finally calmed down. Are you okay? You want to say hi?
Yeah,
You
dark
want to say
room
hi?
with just your camera, just some light in front of you is like a really good look. I don't know if I can achieve it in here because there's like so many bright screens. Oh yeah, there we go. Dun, 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 dun. Turn off the lights.
Hi.
Turn
Oh,
off the
Pocket Locker, you
lights.
need like an $11 lamp. What kind of bulb is this? With an LED bulb. That's it. That's all we have here. Your skin is glowing. Are you okay now? You okay not to cry? That's why I stopped. I went in there. I was so worried. No. So we have to continue with Hot Program.
Yes.
You might be his co-host one day when I retire with millions of dollars from YouTube royalties.
You got to get with another kid. I'm gonna be retired too.
No, she's enough. She's enough. She's enough. Okay, you want to go back to mom, dear? I know you can't hear what my co-host is saying.
I think she's ready for the big time.
She already has her own microphones. I gave her that a few weeks ago. You
Oh
enjoying
yeah,
anything?
they do make cool little microphone toys.
They do. Hold on. Watch this technique, America.
Say hi.
Into the mic. She'll get it eventually.
She can't hear her speaker.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you got to talk into the mic. She's like, no, I just want to wave it around. I don't.
All right.
It's like half magic wand, half microphone technique. At that age, I guess.
I guess so. She used one to push around her food. Thank you, dear. She used one to push around her food. The other day
Oh,
at a meal, she thought it was like a spoon. That's not what it's good for, but it did work.
well, this is an SM58. It's the most famous microphone in the world, and it is often it's famous for how tough it is. Sure, the company that makes it likes to make videos where they like drop it multiple stories in tall buildings and then pick it up, plug it in, and show that it still works. So we often say in sound design that it doubles as a hammer. So she's not far off with the spoon. She's learning that microphones can be multiple use devices.
When we finally get our own home, again, I will come back to you on that SM50 if I don't recall, and I will get her a nice microphone.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anybody out there looking for a good microphone recommendation? A Shure SM58, run you about $100. Good enough for presidents, good enough for me. All right, let's roll this.
Expand universal education choice, protect American taxpayers from bailouts of an academia wholly adrift, and reclaim institutions of higher education from the radical left. I will add historical context to some of the nonsense that we are reading after I finish this mess. Heritage will spearhead reforms at the state level to expand education choice while working to limit federal intervention in education with the goal of ultimately eliminating the U.S. Department of Education. Here's a couple quick stats. Couple quick stats. That make little to no sense. Only 36% of all Americans have either a, quote, great deal or, quote, quite a lot of confidence in higher education, according to Gallup 2023. 7 out of 10 Americans believe K through 12 education is on the, quote, wrong track. A full 3/4, 75% of Americans support school choice in the form of education savings accounts. There's a couple things I really want to talk about in here. Remember how I said that they want your kids stupider? I say that pretty often. Remember how I also say that they want your kids either in the mines, dead, or pregnant?
All right, so this is where these two things start to come together, right? Because this is where we make the connection between the lack of culpability that we are seeing for the perpetrators of the crimes in the Epstein situation, and literally the scapegoating of the victims as, oh, forget the fact that they were children. They took a few $100s and that makes them prostitutes. And now all of a sudden this is okay. This is where she's tying this now to what is going on in our education system.
Just they're laying a whole lot out for us here, specifically about how to get your kids into the mines. Sure, we can focus up here.
Or to be sleeping with rich men for $200.
Here for a little bit, talking about critical race theory, basically American history. You don't need to know about American history. You don't need to know about world history. You don't need to know about anybody that is not Anglo-Saxon, hard, unfiltered mayonnaise, unpasteurized milk levels of white. And you don't need to learn about anybody that is not a cisgendered male who is also white. Which that on its own is going to keep you really ignorant and very stupid, like just dropping IQs like flies to a light. But also when it comes to here, like releasing Washington's grip on K through 12 and higher education and all of this other, remember, there's a lot of people that joke about how No Child Left Behind, like we're living in the results of No Child Left Behind. The best way to create an increasingly uneducated generation is to have the generation before them separated from critical thinking, separated from active listening, separated from being fully present in an educational moment, which is exactly what No Child Left Behind did. For those of you who may not know, one of the big things that No Child Left Behind did was they put standardized testing. They implemented that in the K through 12. I think it was more specifically in like third grade through eighth grade, but then it expanded through K through 12. So what
Yeah, same thing. If you want your child to receive any type of real education, you have to pay for a high-priced private institution. This is their entire goal. That equals more low-income workers. Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, especially like like my mom sent me to Catholic schools, and that's why. Like my school had like a 90, damn near 100% graduation rate, with pretty much the same thing, like everybody going to college in one form or another, except for people who went straight into like high value occupations, like if they were going to, join the state police or become a firefighter or a paramedic. But everybody else, got, and so that does become what people are paying for. Also, what she's touching on is deep and even deeper than she leads on to, because of the deep ignorance and religiosity of like not just our generation as being parents, and not just our parents' generation, but our grandparents' generation, right? And so for so many of us, this lack of critical thinking, inability to just like be a functional human being that can handle basic truths about the world is deeply generational.
that looks like is you are no longer learning for educational milestones.
There we
Like you
go.
are no longer trying to intellectually develop in a way that is age appropriate. You are learning to pass a specific test. You are not contemplating a book. You are not contemplating history. You're not contemplating a piece of literature. You are memorizing facts so that way you could answer a test as quote unquote correctly as possible. So that way you could get to the next level of memorizing more things and not having the time to critically think about any of those things. So we now have an entire generation of people these are the kids. Like, the kids in No Child Left Behind, we are the parents. We are the parents at this point. We are the parents and we are the educators. Now, there are a lot of people who were taught how to critically think, whether they did that at home or you had amazing teachers that went above and beyond to, yes, get you to pass the tests, but also encouraged critical thinking. I had a few really prominent, I had one really good history teacher and I had three amazing English teachers when I was actually I had three amazing English teachers and then one elementary school teacher. And all of those teachers were like they tended to overlap. So there was never a period of time where academically I was not encouraged to think critically about what was in front of me. And my mom is probably autistic. So there was a lot of critical thinking that was happening and like discussions about things that were happening in real time, that were happening at home and in school for me.
All right, so yeah, for me, real quick, just shout out some of the real heroes, the real homies, for real. First off, people understand, but for me would be my band instructor. Like, it's so weird, but being the only black kid in all white school, it was like terrifying. But my band instructor was like really the person who made me feel like he had my back. He made me feel talented and like a leader, just like always making me like naturally feel like in a position of leadership. and always supporting me and giving me opportunities. And so I actually went to my high school. Like, I got to choose, and it was like very weird, but I got to choose what high school I wanted to go to. And I had options that were actually much more expensive and more like prestigious, private or Catholic schools in the area. And I could have said I want to go to public school if I wanted to, but I didn't actually want to. I like going to Catholic school. And yeah, I chose the school that I did to stay with my band instructor. So I had the same band instructor in high school that I had in middle school. I was about that life. And throughout high school, the band room was like my escape pod. And then, yeah, I had really great teachers. My teachers are great. But when it comes to like super encouraging my critical thinking, so, you know, I give my band instructor a lot because he did contribute a lot to my intellectual development, even though he wasn't like trying to explicitly give me instruction. Just the way he treated me, he definitely contributed a lot towards my critical thinking. And then my English teacher, honors English teacher, who was also the principal of my high school, and our civics teacher, who was an elected official, and our dean of students who taught physics. And then my college professors, going from a school with 350 students from grade 7 to 12 and like 50 students in my graduating class to Penn State University, literally the largest university system in the country, main campus at like, I don't know, 45,000 students or something like that. Coming from a super small school, like the only way to make Penn State feel small was to get really, really close to my professors. So my college professors are like my intellectual heroes. Actually, all of my pets are named after professors I had while at Penn State. And so, yeah, people for me talk about Sam Richards. He's like the sociologist of race I was with, or Rich Lenski. That was my PhD advisor. There's also David Putz, who was my biological anthropology advisor and mentor, who I wrote my master's thesis under. But really, my heroes are like Diana Grundler, my honors English teacher. She's the person who helped me find my voice and write really powerfully about things that were very important to me, things I would have been terrified to say if not for her, like, unyielding encouragement. And I spent so much time with her. I would just like monopolize her office hours every week talking about everything. Y'all, the first time I did coke and the shit blew my mind, it was such a powerful experience. I literally talked to my professors about it. Like, I was like, oh my God, I did coke. We have to talk. Like, that's the type of relationship I had with them. But it was a really powerful intellectual experience for me. I was a big marijuana advocate, but I really didn't understand powerful addictive drugs. I'd heard people talk about cocaine addiction and cocaine use, right? But there was something about using it, and I don't fuck with coke because I don't think I have the constitution to do something that powerful without having a serious problem. But it was a very powerful learning experience. But yeah, I give all the credit to my professors, and of course Rich Doyle, who was my like best friend. And even when I left school, because of my bipolar for a few years, like he stayed in touch with me, and he was the preceptor of my B-Phil, so he was in charge of my whole program there at Penn State. And I'm kind of just waiting for my one black friend to what happened. Oh, okay. He said his phone fucking died or whatever. He told me to finish up without him. All right. But yeah, I don't know. I don't get to talk about my mentors much. Just kind of wanted to give them a shout out because I do think educators are so important, and I had so many. Like, yeah, I don't know. My education has been incredible. Even Cory Booker. Y'all know I'm mad at Cory for taking all that APAC money, getting embarrassed on the iHip fucking podcast, and acting a damn fool. But I've known that man since I was like 11 years old, and he's invested a lot of time with me. I've done more internships and opportunities with him than anybody else. I've probably done like 5 or 6 internships for Cory Booker. So he's somebody that's definitely invested a lot in me, and that's always going to be true. regardless of what either of us does with our lives. All right, let's go ahead and get back into this so we can wrap this thing. I appreciate y'all for indulging me.
A lot of people where this was not the case, where critical thinking in school was not the case, where they didn't have the luxury, the privilege of having a teacher that was like, no, we're going to yes, get you to this point, but we're also going to learn how to have a complete thought through and through. And now a lot of the people that did not have access to that level of education are now paying.
Dude, I have so many Bart Ehrman books, and I like just don't make the time to read them. I think his scholarship is always excellent. I get on Bart Ehrman about the way I don't know with the whole historicity thing, and also sometimes I feel like he be doing too many Christian goddamn events for me. It's like he's always on the damn church tour or something like that. But man, the scholarship, like the amount of shit that I've learned from Bart Ehrman is undeniable. I'm sure the book is fucking awesome. Let us know.
Parents.
Let us know how it goes, Dave.
So a majority of a generation that has not been taught how to critically think is now being given this information of, oh, well, why don't we just officially get rid of critical thinking? Because critical thinking is associated with the, quote, radical left. And while no, the Department of Education was not perfect, the reality of completely getting rid of an entire department dedicated to children's education and the amount of people that are behind this, I think we should all be very concerned.
Damn, Dave,
and
that's
not just concerned,
legit.
like, for our...
Yeah, see, I've bought 5, but I haven't read them. That's the problem, man. I gotta pull up and look. I do, because there's this sounds so good, but y'all, that's one of my problems. I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I get so excited about books and I buy them. I'm like, I have to have them, and then I kind of recognize that, like, even if I don't ever read it, I just want to have it. I just want to own this book. I don't know why. That's a thing that we do. Also to, support the authors and all that good stuff. But yeah, in my ideal life, I have so much more time to read, and I carve out so much more time to read, and I love my reading time, and I just read so much for pleasure the way I did when I was a kid. And it sucks to say this as a scholar. I don't know when I'm supposed to fit in this recreational reading. I do read a lot, but it's like my job. Like, my job just requires a lot of reading, to prepare for class and the books my students are reading and to do all the reading that I'm asking them to do and stuff. I end up doing a ton of reading, and so it ends up not being something I do for fun. But I have so many books I really want to get to, and I want to share. I think that's like the key for me. I think, like, if I do it and I make it like a content thing, I'm way more likely to do it. We were trying to do like I think we called it ABC, like an atheist book club. Y'all can go back and look for some of those videos. They're on the channel somewhere, I think. We were trying to get through a couple books. I think maybe we made it through God Is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens. And then I think we were going to do like a Dawkins book or something. Obviously, I'm kind of not a super huge fan of either of those men the way I used to be, because they're both neocons, and Dawkins is particularly problematic these days. But those 2 books were really informative for me, and I wanted to read How to Make a Negro Christian on stream. That was one of the original ideas for Black Free Thinkers, was that the 4 of us would like read How to Make a Negro Christian together, and the 4 of us being me, Maya, Cam, and Durante. But we just didn't, because we ended up just kind of doing more of a normal type thing. And, now since then I've had falling outs with Durante and Maya. Still love Cam. The funny thing is, Cam never hosted the show. I still love Cam. Cam was always cool, always in touch with us, always supportive, always ready to go when needed. So always got love for Cam still. And now I've had a falling out with Skeptic Haven, and but I try to, so we'll try to do that type of stuff on our channel. But yeah, I still would love to do that. I still think I want to read How to Make a Negro Christian, and maybe we'll schedule it, and maybe some of y'all will grab the book and read along, and do like a book club thing. I still think that'd be super fun. Like, wouldn't that be super fun? And like, kind of like making it feel like we have our own book club. I just want to make sure other people are like going to read it. I don't know. It'd be a good idea to get it. I would love to get that type of thing involved in my teaching too, because it'd be super dope if I could get the community to read something that my students are also reading. And maybe that's something we can pursue with the courses I'm teaching. I don't know. Getting lots of ideas. I'm glad I'm getting inspired today. All right, let's keep rolling.
Kids, but also very concerned for our educators. Like right up at the top here, I'm looking at the scourge of woke ideas like critical race theory and
Yeah, I
radical
fucks with
gender
that, dude.
ideology.
Appreciate
And then
it.
I think about the, I posted about it a while ago. I'll include the link for it right up here. I think about the woman from, the young lady from who knows wherever, who wrote that insane article. Really just like a narrative essay that was supposed to be an academic article talking about Jesus and the Lord and all that. But then her professor, who happened to be trans, now no longer is in the job because the student didn't
Yeah, I'm with that day too. Nonfiction. Yeah, I don't read fiction. Yeah, for sure.
didn't do the assignment.
Not that there's anything wrong with
Like,
it. I just don't.
and that's causing a huge uproar within the academic community. Like when it comes to teaching critical race theory or just history professors that actually care about teaching history, English teachers that actually care about teaching English, science professors that care about teaching the history of science, and who discovered this, how certain things came to be, how certain practices came to be, the reality of hypothetically gynecology, radical gender ideology. Like, are these things going to be, these things are considered scourges, very specifically scourges, which means that the people that are teaching them will also be considered scourges, which means that a lot of our professors that are what this administration would consider promoting the radical left ideology, a lot of these professors are going to come under more scrupulous attacks. I'm concerned. Like, I think what we've
Yep.
been seeing mostly in the United States, let me make myself a little bit bigger. I think what we've been seeing mostly in the United States and up until this point are, there have been a lot of professors that have left the United States. I think I made a video about it. I can't remember. If I did,
I'd love to. I'd love to. I gotta keep looking at jobs internationally. I myself would love to be a black babe abroad. Yes, yes, I would.
put it right up there. But there have been a number of professors that have left the United States, but more specifically, the professors that have left have been prominent speakers against fascism, against Yazidism, right? Things that are very clearly taken full control of the United States. So those professors were like, I see what is happening here, I'm going to go. I personally, let me know if you've seen it differently in the comment section, but I haven't seen a huge wave of the humanities, of teachers of the humanities, or sciences, or gender studies, which I think would also fall under the humanities. I haven't seen a wave of other teachers, other professors, other academics leaving yet. But this could be a little dog whistle telling folks to get ready, we're coming after you. I don't know. I'm just concerned because this is a lot of what we've been seeing. We've already seen like the sprinklings of, but it's Project 2026 for a reason, which means don't expect more of the same old. We're ramping up. And that is my theory about what they're ramping up for. Because it's really hard to get your kids into the minds if they're being taught how to critically think, if they're being taught actual history, if they're being taught how to analyze media, papers, how to form complete thoughts. It's really hard to subjugate a group of informed people, informed, curious, active listeners. They're not just going to walk into the gallows singing and skipping. But these are my thoughts. I'm going to continue going through some of the other elements of Project 26, or at least the outline. Stay informed, share this with folks, have conversations with people, because this will.
Yeah, I will, Filbert. For some reason, I'm familiar with that name. But yeah, let me pull it up. Just so I will check it out, because it's already in front of me. Oh, this is the book. Yeah. Okay. I do not know if, for some reason I thought I bought it already, but maybe not. Okay. Thank you.
Affecting everyone, regardless of if you have kids or not. Yes, this specific one is about kids, but not all of them are. And if you are contemplating, please don't have kids right now. Please. This is not the time. This is not the world that you should be popping kids out into. Okay?
Really isn't.
Okay.
It really is not. Oh shit, I gotta bring that back up because it's gonna play some other dumb bullshit. Oh my goodness. All right, let's stop that. All right. And let's go back to this scene. Okay, so all right, I'm just gonna talk to y'all for a hot minute about all this. All right. Yeah, this shit is crazy to me. Like, I don't understand what it's gonna take to get people to, like, I think that's like becoming my mission, is to just like kind of just shake people. Like, I don't want to. I'm thinking of like that old fucking kind of like black culture meme of like, you don't want to go upside your woman's head. You just want to shake the shit out of her. That's abusive as fuck. It's abusive as fuck. But metaphorically, that's kind of how I feel, right? Like, I'm not necessarily. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I really do just want to go upside motherfuckers' heads, but I just want to give them a good shake, you know, and shake people. Like, what is it gonna take for us to literally talk about the real shit with Christianity? Is that my neurospicy gang? I don't fucking know. I don't know. Like, is that me just soft pedaling? Is that me pathologizing honesty? Am I pathologizing my own sincerity, gang? Is that what it takes to fucking cope in this world? Because that's what I fucking feel like, y'all. I feel like I'm like, people just hate the motherfucking truth so much, and like no matter how fucked up shit gets, people are not gonna ever just like snap out of it and be like, this is sitting on some bullshit, like fuck this. So then maybe it's me. It must just be me. My brain must just be broken. There's something wrong with me. You know. I guess the rest of y'all are fine. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. You'll be right. Yeah, options on time. We need this shit now, yo. Yo, we need. I need this religious suffering to end. Make it stop. All right, y'all. I'm trying to go back and forth and figure out this thing. So Kyle's hosting. I'm gonna be a guest on Kyle's event tonight. I think it starts at 8 Eastern. I believe it's in a Discord server. Kyle, can you drop? Are we allowed to share the link to that server so that people can join? But yeah, I'm hoping people will join us. I guess people should keep an eye out on my post on my page, and I'll post the flyer and link, hopefully. Did you just say Kyle? Kyle's the person you were just talking to. When you said Kyle, you're all over the place. That's Kyle. That Kyle. I don't think we have another Kyle in this community. That would be annoying. Then I'd have to start specifying. But yeah, so the event tonight I think is at 8 p.m. So in just a few hours. I'm pretty sure it's in a Discord, like one of them Discord stage thingies. I'm gonna be talking about evolving a better community, at least I think. Unless I don't think Kyle likes that title, so maybe she'll change it. But that's the title. That's the title I proposed. Who knows? But yeah, come. I think it's gonna be a good talk. I don't know why, but like I feel like people don't. Okay, few things about me. Like, yes, I'm an evolutionary biologist, and yes, I d- teach anthropology and sociology as well. That's crazy. Just to even have that experience to be able to teach biology, anthropology, and sociology. But I'm a whole community organizer, gang. Lots of experience in that regard. Something I've been doing since I was a teenager. And I'm also a technology person. Very, 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 what some people might call a technologist. And so I rarely get a chance to do serious engagement and discuss community building and my views on community building and how to use technology to enhance our ability to be in community with each other. And so it's always something I'm really, really excited to talk about. So this is something I take to be just as serious or important as anything I do scientifically or academically. So, yeah, keep an eye out on the page. I'll make a post with the link and the details as soon as I get them. And yeah, I hope you guys will show up and support the event. Yeah, and maybe also I can drop the details in the description of the video. I think when I get the information, I could just update the description as well. So if you're watching this later and you want to show up to the event tonight, check the description for a link, and then also check my YouTube page where I will make a post. All right, gang. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks, of course, to my one black friend for hosting today's show with me. As always, really appreciate the mods. I appreciate everybody that's been in chat. If you watch later, please answer the question of the day. Regardless of if you're watching now or later, please like the video, subscribe to the channels, and give the video a thumbs up on your way out. It really, really helps. All right, I guess I already mentioned that. Anyway, thanks, gang. I really appreciate you guys. And as always, be good to yourselves. Oh, and each other. Hang on. I got an image here from Kyle. So there's the picture. Hang on. Is there a link? Is there a link to the Discord? Okay, so I can use this image to make a post. That is dope. Yeah, and I guess I'll drop the link when I get it. All right, gang. We'll see you next time. Be good to yourselves. Oh, here's the link. I got it. All right, here we go. It's called Leaders and Learners. All right. Perfect. Here, let me drop that into the chat. Awesome. All right, gang. Come join us at 8 tonight in the Leaders and Learners Lounge. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, come show support, gang. It'd be great to see you guys there. Show them some love. And, hopefully then we'll be able to get invited back for more events in the future.